Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. So this video marks the beginning of a new series in my channel. So in this tutorial we are going in this series we're going to cover data cleaning in machine learning or data science. So as a data scientist or as a person who does machine learning or data science related stuff, data analysis or any stuff like that, one of the important things that you'll be dealing with most of the time is data, right? So before you can do anything with in machine learning, the first important step you have to do is making sure that your data is clean and you have a good understanding of that data. So in this series we're going to go over and cover how to clean your data properly and use it in your model, because in machine learning, as we usually say, the model is only as good as your data. So your data has to be good for your model to be good. So if you're going to be joining Kaggle competitions or other stuff, one of the important skills that you need to learn as a data scientist is how to clean your data. If you're working as a data analyst, then you need to have a properly clean data before working with that data, right? So there are different techniques that you're going to learn and that you can use to clean your data. So in this tutorial, we're going to begin with a very simple step of learning of dealing with missing values. Okay, so if you're new to the channel, please kindly consider subscribing and hit the notification bell so that you can stay updated whenever I upload new videos in this series. So we're going to go over data cleaning, and in this tutorial we're going to go with dealing with missing values. So whenever your data has missing values, how do you go about dealing with that thing? Okay, right? Are you going to impute the values? Are you going to delete the columns and stuff like that? And that's, we're going to learn that technique in this video. So let's get started to it. So the first thing you need to do, I have a data set called houses.csv. So this houses.csv, I'm going to make it available on my GitHub page, and the link is going to be in the description below. So now let's get started with our today's agenda, which is dealing with learning how to deal with missing values. So I'm just going to keep a mark down here, just saying dealing with missing values, just like that. So let's begin. So what I'm going to import pandas and numpy. Again, if you don't know pandas, I have a whole series on pandas on my YouTube page, so you can go ahead and check that tutorial out. It's actually a whole series on pandas, so it teaches you pandas from the basic until to a bit intermediate level. So the knowledge of that series will be completely sufficient for this course. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and import pandas as PD. I'm also going to go ahead and import numpy as np, just like that. So I have went ahead and imported pandas and numpy. So once I have those two imported, we can begin. So the first thing to do whenever you have data is, first of all, you have to know how your data looks like. Just open up your CSV file and then just see how your data looks like, what information it provides you, and how you can use the information you have to solve the task that you're given. So it is very important that we look at our data. So let's go, let me just write markdown here. Let me just say how does the data look like? Okay, so it's very important that you know how your data looks like, because you know what features you have, how to use those features to achieve the important tasks that you want to do. So first of all, what I'm going to do, I'm going to first read that into a data frame. So I'm going to say pd.read underscore csv, and in here I'm going to provide the path to that, which is in datasets folder /houses.csv. okay, and I'm going to run that, and this is going to read for me my CSV file into my data frame, okay, variable right here. So I can just do data frame right like this. You can see I have all these features right here. So you cannot look at the whole data, and most of the time the data is just too much to look at all of it. So I'm just going to look at the first 5 rows, about the first 5 rows. Yeah, so you can see there's the data that we have, and you can see each of those feature names that we have. So we have a column, we have the column of longitude, latitude, house, medium, age, the total, and the total number of rooms, and all this. So it's just a data set about houses. Okay, so we're going to use this data set to deal with to learn how to deal with missing values. So now that you have been able to look at our data set, and we know what the data is all about, right? In this case, in most cases, you have more information. Maybe there will be a documentation about the data set or something similar to that. But in this case, this is the data set you have, and this is what you're going to work with. And you just look at the kind of data that we have and the number of features that we have. So let's do a df dot. We can even count the number of columns. I think it's just say columns. So this is going to return to us the number of columns that we have. So you can see we have all these columns. So we have the longitude. We can also count this if you want. I think you can do the length of it, and then you can see how many total number of columns we have. So we have 10 different columns in our data sets. So you can also print out all of these columns, which are all of them here. You don't need to print them out actually. So we have 10 different columns in our data set. So now we have you can check the shape of the data set to know how many rows, and now we are dealing with, we know how many columns here, which is 10 columns. So let's do df dot shape. If you do different shape, it will provide you that same information. So you can see we have shape, it turns out the number of rows and number of columns. So we have 20,640 rows, and we have 10 different columns, which is the same value as this one. So now we have a brief description of our data set, right? So you can even do df.describe, and that should also give us more information. So just say df.describe, describe just like this, and if you run this function, you can even get more information about the marks, the mean, the standard deviations, and other stuff like that, and the mean, the standard deviation, the 50th percentile, and other details like that. So we have all that detail here. So this is a short description of our data set. So now we know we have a data set having over 20,000 columns and 10 rows, and these are the different the mean, the marks, and values of each individual column. So we just have a very quick description of our data set. Now in this case, most of the time your data set might have missing values, right? So we want to check how many missing values are in our column, because that's the main aim of this tutorial, to know about missing values. So let's check how let's say how many missing values do we have. How many missing values do we have? So let's check that that argument. Let's see let's answer that question. So we want to know how many missing values are inside of this data set. So you can just do df.isNA. If you do this, it's going to return to us this, right? It's going to return to us this data frame containing true and false. Okay, so whenever it is false, means that it's not missing. Whenever it's true, that means it's missing. Now it's very difficult. You can go ahead and inspect all of this. So the best thing you can do is just do dot sum, and this is going to return to us the sum of each column. So you can see the missing values in each individual column. So for the longitude column, we have 0. For the latitude, 0. House age, median age, we have 0. The number of rooms, we have 0. Total number of bedrooms, we have 207 missing values. So you can see that's the column containing most of the missing value, and all the other ones have no missing values. So let's go ahead and see how we can deal with that. So we can deal with that very simply. The first thing we want to check is we want to know the percentage of the data that is missing. So let's go ahead and actually check that. So I'm just going to put a mark down here, percentage of missing data. So I want to find the percentage of the missing data. So let me just make this one to be a markdown cell. Just click on your cell on this side, and then press M on your keyboard. Yeah, that will make it a markdown cell. So once we have that done, let's go ahead and actually check how total cells that we have. So to do that, not actually the total cells that we have, we're going to take the number of rows, right? Number of rows in our data set minus the number of columns in it. The number of rows times the number of columns, that return to us the total number of cells that we have in our data set. So to do that, I'm just going to say total underscore cells, total cells, and this is going to be I'm going to say np.product, and I'm going to simply just pass in df.shape. So it's going to multiply. If I go back here, you can see df.shape is going to return to us this tuple, right? So it's going to multiply these two values, and it's going to give us the response. So it's going to be around let me see, it's going to be around 206,040, right? Something like that. So if I just multiply this, and I can also go ahead and print this also, just do total underscore cells. So if I run that, you can see we have 206,400 cells, right? So now you can see this and the total number of cells that we have in our data set. Now we want to calculate the number of missing the total number of missing values. So I want to say total missing underscore values. Let me just create total missing values, and this is going to be the following. It's going to be the following. So what we're going to do, we're going to do a df.isNA, dot sum. It's going to return to us the total number of missing values. Okay, so once we have that value, what you can simply do, let me just do dot sum here again, because if you do just this, it's going to return to us this value. Now we want to find the sum of this value. So if I run it, yeah, now everything should be fine. So what I want to do is to find the percentage of the missing data. So I can say percentage of underscore missing data, and this is going to be very simple to do. So we're going to do the following. So we're going to simply take the total underscore missing underscore values over the total cells, right? Total underscore cells, and then we're going to multiply this by 100 to get the percentage, and I'm simply going to do total percentage. I can just go ahead and copy this and then simply paste it here and then run the code again. So I got an error here. So it says total missing, okay, this is total missing. So let me get the spelling right. So you can see we have 0.100029. So just a little percent of our data is missing. So this data set is quite very clean. Okay, so in case if you're working with other data set, you might have 10% missing values, other 20%. So it can be really difficult if you don't clean your data set, and that to make your model to be really poor. Okay, and if you have NA values like this, you actually get an error when trying to fit a model. So what you're going to do is finding out why we have missing values. Okay, one of the important questions you have to ask yourself after identifying missing values, you have to ask yourself, why do these missing values exist? So missing values can exist for various reasons. The first one is that the missing values were not recorded, or they don't exist. So let's say that they are not recorded. So let's say that in this case we have a house data set, right? So you can see that most of the missing values is inside of the total bedrooms column. So does the bedroom not exist, or it was simply not recorded? So in this case it looks like it wasn't recorded, right? Because a house probably has a bedroom, right? Because these are just residential residential houses data, right? So each house has a bedroom. So what we can say in here is that data was not recorded. Okay, we can say that the bedroom don't exist. So the bedrooms were simply not recorded. So in this case, if you have a data set, you can go to online, do some quick Google search, read the documentation of data set, and try to find out more information from the people who collected the data set, or about resources about that data set, so you can get information about why missing values exist. Either they were not recorded, or they simply don't exist. Okay, in this case it looks like they are simply not recorded. So one way we can fix these missing values is by using a method known as imputation, and we are going to cover imputation later on. So there are many libraries that you can use to deal with imputations in Python, and we'll look at that later on in the future. One way we can solve this error of having missing values is the first method is by dropping these missing values. We can just simply go ahead and do a df.drop, and that is going to get rid of all the missing values. So you rightly want to drop a value. We want to drop a column that has missing values. For example, we can drop the rows that have total bedrooms missing. We can drop it because this is not a large number compared to the data set. So if it will not cause a significant reduction in your data, then you can feel free to go ahead and actually drop it. So let me just keep a mark down here. So just say drop missing values. So you want to drop a missing value in case that the data that is missing is not significantly large. So in case in our case here, 200 compared to 20,000 is not significantly large. So you can feel free to go ahead and actually drop the total number of bedrooms. So I can simply do a df underscore copy. I'm going to copy this df, and I'm going to df.copy that data frame. So once I have that data frame copied, what I can simply do, I can do df underscore copy dot drop na. So we're going to drop na values, and you're going to say in place equals to true. So in place means that it's going to reassign the value back to the specific variables after dropping the columns. So if you don't know about pandas, again, you can check out my series on pandas. Okay, so once I have that, I can do df and the cp dot is na and then dot sum. Okay, check the missing values again. If I do this, we can see I have dropped all the missing values and I don't have any missing values here. So I can also do df underscore cp dot shape. Let's check the value. So you have 20,433. so you can check that is not a significant drop in the original one. So it was about 20,600 and something. So it is about 207, right? 200, yeah, actually 207 exactly. So 207 data rows that you have just dropped. So this is not that of a big difference in case in this specific case, but in most cases, in some cases, not most, in some cases it can be a big difference. So you just have to know whether it's going to cause a huge reduction in amount of data. If that's going to be the case, then do not drop it. There are other ways that you can deal with the missing values. And let's look at another way that you can deal with the missing value, which is filling in the missing values. So if you have missing values, you can actually go ahead and fill in the missing values. Let's say that you have the total number of bedrooms. You have done a research and you found that total number of bedrooms on average is a value of 2. So you can simply go ahead and fill this with the values of 2 instead of dropping. So each row that does not have a bedroom, total number of bedrooms, you can just simply pass in a 2. Okay, if you're filling in the missing values, then you should do a lot of research to know that the actual value that you're fitting in is not biased or is not a fake. Okay, so that you have to do research, and then based on that research, that's when you're filling in those values. So let me just keep another mark here and mark down here and say fill in missing values, just like that. And I'm going to make this to be a markdown cell. So yeah, so once I have that, I can do df underscore copy, and I'm going to call it copy2, and this is going to be a df dot copy. You're going to copy the original data set, and then I'm going to do simply do, let's check if you have missing values. I'm going to df dot copy to dot is na dot sum, and this is going to return to us the missing value, and you have 207 missing values right here. So I'm going to do a df underscore copy to the dot fill na. So I'm going to fill the missing values. So I'm going to fill the missing values with simply 0, and I'm going to say in place equals to true. Now it doesn't make sense I fill the total number of bedrooms with the value of 0, because by default I think they already, you can fill it with 0 if you want, but it's not proper that you can have a bedroom total number of bedrooms to be 0. So let's say that we did a intensive research, and we found that on average it can be 2. So you fill it with the average value, and you just run that. And if you do df underscore copy to dot is na dot sum, is going to return to us all of them being 0, because we fill all the missing values, all the missing total number of bedrooms, we fill it with a value of 2. So this will not only fill it for it will fill for all the other columns as well. So if you want to do it to a specific column, then you have to select only that column. But in this case, we have only total bedrooms missing, so I don't have to specify it. I just pass in 2. But in most cases, you just have to specify the column itself, and then fill in that specific column only. So now that you have looked at how to fill NA values, one thing we also do is that you can fill NA values with the rows with the data from the rows above or below. So in Pandas, we call this one a forward fill or a backward fill, backward propagation. So we call NAN forward fill of NAN backward fill. So backward propagation rather. So let me just go in here. For example, let me use this as an example right here. So let's say that we have 253 missing, right? So let's say we have 253 missing. One way I can simply solve this is simply filling this value with the one with the row that's above it, or filling it with the row that is below it. That is called NA propagation. You can propagate either backward or a forward. So you can do a research on that. So let me just do a df underscore cp underscore 3 is going to be equals to df.copy, right? I'm going to simply make a copy of it, and I'm going to df underscore cp3.fill na, and I'm going to provide the method, and the method I'm going to use is going to be called, we can do a forward fill, right? So ff fill, or you can also do a backward fill, which is bff. If you do a forward fill, it's going to replace each row with the data that is from above it, or it's going to replace each row with the data that is from below it, which is going to be backward fill. Okay, so in this case we want a forward fill, and then I'm going to go ahead and specify the axis, and I want the axis to be of the row axis. So once I have that, I can say in place and in place is going to simply be true. So once I have that, I can simply run the code, and I can also do df underscore cp3 dot is na dot sum. So if I check this, and you can see now I have no missing values in here, but before I was having missing values. Yeah, so that's how you can do it. You also do fill this with a backward propagation field. So if I run this again, now you can see it also fills it, but it fills with the data from the row below it and not the row before it. Okay, so once I have that done, that's one way you can also replace missing value. So if you're working with missing value, this is one way you can a simple way you can work with the missing values in when working with Pandas. So yeah, that's all I wanted us to cover in this tutorial, which is dealing with missing values. Okay, so we went over how to read a data frame, how to get a look at the data frame to see what data you have, and then checking how many values do you have, how many missing values do you have. Okay, and then you calculate the percentage of the missing values, and then deciding on which replacement method you're supposed to use, whether data is present, it was missing because it wasn't recorded or it doesn't exist, and how you can go about doing your research and filling those specific values. So yeah, that's all we're going to cover in this tutorial. So if you enjoyed this tutorial so far, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the YouTube channel, and share this video with anyone who you think might find this helpful. So thanks for watching, and see you in the next one. Keep safe.